Hey everyone, today I want to give you some information about why you may be chronically stressed and craving carbs. And it's a common complaint that people say is when they're chronically stressed, I crave carbs, I crave carbohydrates, I crave sugary foods. Now I'm going to tell you why chronic stress tells the body to crave carbohydrates in a simple chemistry or simple biochemical marker of why that happens. So let's talk about stress response itself and cortisol production. So cortisol production is produced by your hypothalamus tells your pituitary gland to produce corticotropes. Corticotropes travel through the bloodstream to the adrenal glands, and the adrenal glands then produce the hormone cortisol. Now, this is a brain response. So our perception to stress is how we believe it to be. So we can actually control stressful manners simply by the way our thought process is. So our hypothalamus is in our brain. Okay, our hypothalamus regulates hormone production related to the pituitary gland. Our pituitary gland releases corticotropes. Corticotropes then go to the adrenal glands to produce the stress hormone cortisol. So your perception to stress actually controls a lot to do with it as well too. But some stresses are simply unavoidable. Now, a lot of stresses that we face are work, lifestyle, relationship, financial, training, and also biochemical stresses in our body which we have no control over. But if you're in a situation where you're chronically feeling like you're stressed and you're craving carbs, this is why. There's a neurotransmitter in the body called serotonin. Now, serotonin is the opposing part to cortisol and helps dampen the half-life of cortisol and helps control that stress and mediate that stress response. Now, we need cortisol in our body for a number of functions, so we don't want to dampen it too much. Cortisol is responsible for improving inflammatory responses in our body, so it promotes healing. It also promotes histamine, and histamine is a vasodilator, so it's a nitric oxide improver, which vasodilates our bloodstream to make our blood flow through our capillaries and arterioles quicker to get the inflammation properties from our healing to the affected area. So cortisol is very essential there. Cortisol is very essential too because it is our fight or flight hormone. So it will wake us up in the morning and it will give us energy throughout the day. Now, over-exaggeration of cortisol, overproduction of cortisol can lead into suspected adrenal fatigue. So these are the sorts of things that come in you must understand about hormonal control. Now, cortisol, when you're craving and stress response, when you're craving carbs, your body is trying to produce a serotonin production. Serotonin is easily produced in the body when you have an influx of sugar, insulin, and blood glucose combined together to tell your brain to make serotonin in a neurotransmitter. Now, neurotransmitters are essential in brain function and it will help regulate the cortisol response. Now, serotonin is actually produced in the chemical pathway by an amino acid called tryptophan, and the precursors are 5-HTP. So tryptophan, the amino acid, actually helps make serotonin in the body. So when you're chronically stressed, identifying the stress is the first essential thing you need to do because you have control over that perception of what you believe that stress is. You can control it, okay, with the hormonal control. Look at amino acids that help boost serotonin, like magnesium, tryptophan, so the mineral magnesium, the amino acid tryptophan, and the precursor 5-HTP are very essential supplements that you could be adding into your body when you're chronically stressed to help curb the carb cravings. Now, what comes along with people that are chronically stressed is that cortisol production and also the histamine production on overly producing that stress. Histamine is actually a pro-inflammatory in the body and can actually cause gut irritation and gut upset. Now, food cravings or stressful sugary cravings can also be stemmed from the gut. Now, this is how this links in as well too, because serotonin and 95, well, don't quote me on that, a large percentage of neurotransmitters are actually made in the stomach. So serotonin, the neurotransmitter that actually controls cortisol, is made in the stomach. But when you chronically elevate cortisol, you chronically elevate histamine. Histamine, when it reaches the stomach, causes a pro-inflammatory response. So too much cortisol and too much histamine in the stomach can cause bloating and that pro-inflammatory response. So therefore, depleting your ability to actually make serotonin. Now, this is where having a healthy gut actually helps control stress responses in the body. Now, stress responses in the body are also related to microbiome in the stomach. So when you have a large amount of imbalance in proflora or bad bacteria in your stomach, that's actually creating more cravings for sugary and carbohydrate foods simply because bad bacteria eats bad food, eats good bacteria, and then poops more bad bacteria. right? So you need to have a balance of between 85 to 15% good bacteria to bad bacteria to help mediate stress responses. So 3 little tips to help mediate stress response and carbohydrate cravings. Mediate your thought perception of the stress response. Control amino acid production of serotonin, so tryptophan and 5-HTP. The mineral magnesium and certain B vitamins can help with that as well too. And also look at repairing your gut. Bad bacteria will cause sugar cravings, which can be a stress-related response from that cortisol and histamine response I was telling you before. So make sure your bacteria balance in your stomach is essentially working for you as an 85-15% barrier. Now, another quick little tip there on actually taking probiotics. Taking one probiotic, if you have an unbalanced friendly flora in your stomach, is basically like trying to fart on a house fire and put it out. Now, the reason you can be this is because bad bacteria eats good bacteria and poops more bad bacteria. So if you've got an overprevalence of bad bacteria in your stomach and you only take one probiotic, all you're doing is giving food to that bad bacteria. Okay? Things like you see on the shelf, the Cult that have sugar in them, they're very poor probiotic agents. Okay? These are the sorts of things you want to talk to a qualified health practitioner about balancing your friendly flora and talk to about probiotic loading, which is another subject altogether to help rebalance your probiotic agents in your stomach, and also looking at starving the bad bacteria in your stomach from its style of food. So understanding what sort of foods feed off bad bacteria is very essential as well too. So this information is not meant to diagnose or treat or prevent any illness. It's just simple information to help you sort of ask the right questions for your health. Always seek the qualified professional help of your healthcare provider.